Hello, this is JRP, Jewish Redneck Prepper. I'd like to say thank you for joining me today with part 3 here in the community of Ghost Town, Wrightsboro Road, Wrightsboro, Georgia. It's a historic district here in McDuffie County, which was originally part of Columbia County back in the early 1700s and everything. Come on and walk with me as we tour this old historical ghost town here in this part of Georgia. Here in McDuffie County is where I grew up most of my life, and there's several ghost towns around here with many different historical facts here of many famous people coming out of them. But here, what's so special about Wrightsboro community is one of the earliest settlements of the Quakers here in the state of Georgia. They originally came down from Pennsylvania and North Carolina to be here. A lot of people now in history here in Wrightsboro wondered why the Quakers left. A lot of people think that they might have been killed off. A lot of people think that they intermarried with other people, other faiths and everything, or they just left. To a lot of people, it's a mystery how the Quakers had left this part of Georgia. Well, the Quakers, or Friends of Society also known, is they were very passive people. They were farmers, they were down-to-earth people, they were pioneers, okay? They were hunters. They were really friends with the Indians at most of the time, which the most Indians here in this area was the Creek Nation. And they were very passive. They didn't believe in war or killing of the fellow mankind, and they, as far as religious belief, part of their doctrine was they were anti-Trinitarian. And at that time, if you were a religious sect of Christianity and you didn't believe in the Trinity, well, most of the people at that time, they would kill you off if you were anti-Trinitarian. Well, here's the historical marker, if you like to step closer and take an area of the map of what the town right here in this area looked at, and all the tracks and everything of how it was laid out. Well, we're fixing to cross this bridge here and take you down into some areas. All the houses, most of the houses in the stores and the old fort that used to be here are long gone. But they still have the Methodist church. They have ruins of the store right down here on the left in the woods, and they have a couple of more stores up here on the right that has been restored back in the 70s. All right? Well, we're going to pause this part of the video so we can travel on down to the next part. Okay? We're here today at one of the markers here. It says that the historical Wrightsboro town was 19th and 20th century town. We have a picture here on this plaque. If you'd like to come closer. Shows you the old mill here. They used to sit here. Then you have the Holloman and Hall's house, which is still here, and it's right down here, about 200 yards right down here on the left-hand side. If you follow me here, there's not much left as far as buildings and downtown area here in Wrightsboro, but there's still a lot to come out here and tour if you're ever here in this area of Georgia. We're not but like maybe 7 miles from the town of Thompson, Georgia, here in McDuffie County. And we're about 35 to 36 miles from Augusta, Georgia, which this old road, Wrightsboro Road, you stay on it, it'll run you straight downtown Augusta, Georgia. Well, right here is a plaque of the historical Wrightsboro roads here. And here's a picture of an old stagecoach road that joins a couple of miles down back, which used to be the old stage route from Wrightsboro to Augusta. That the stagecoach road all the way down through here, because this used to be a very busy little town here in this area of Georgia. Now, where I showed you earlier in the town map laid out, here's one of the major streets right down here, and we have a marker here that gives you the layout. This street here, right here, which is also Wrightsboro Road, was also known as James Street, and it was a very wide street, like in a lot of towns you have, where they would be called something like Broad Street. This street was 99 feet wide, and it was in the original town plan of Wrightsboro, Georgia of 1769. Another Jordan Street right here is what is called Middle Lane. And Middle Lane was right down here, the middle. We're standing right now basically in the center of the town of Wrightsboro, Georgia. And it's right up here to the left, and you head out towards what is called Fish Dam or Ford Road. And this was the original street here in 1769 on the original plan and the map of Georgia. And walk with me a few ways as we walk down this old street and this old road. I can imagine if you could walk in a lot of these old areas, you could find all kinds of artifacts and old foundations of old homes. Okay, well, I'd like to thank you for this part of the video. We're going to pause it again, and we're going to take you up to the Wrightsboro Methodist Church and the other old section of town and show you the rest of this video. Hello, this is JRP, and here we're at the conclusion of this video. We're in the upper part, well actually the lower part of Wrightsboro Ghost Town here. And this is a Georgia State plaque of William Barnum Trail, who was an early botanist here in this area of Georgia on a trail that he had lectured. It said it was 1773, the Treaty of Augusta. Bartram visited Wrightsboro community, where he described the view of the high hills and rich vales he took on supplies. If you follow me here, these are some old graves that go back many, many years. That comes back from the 1700s all the way to the 1800s up to the early 1900s, where people have been buried out here in this graveyard. As you see, you can see some Confederate flags where Confederate soldiers have been buried here in this grave. And there's one right over there in this area. Here we have a Georgia State marker that commemorates the Wrightsboro Methodist Church of the Thompson Circuit. On this side of the now dead town of Wrightsboro has been an active organization for over 125 years. In its historic churchyard are buried several veterans of the Revolutionary War and some who died in Gettysburg, Shiloh, and Fredericksburg in the war between the states or the Civil Wars. The founders of the oldest and most prominent Georgia families are buried here. Among them are Theodosius Urin Massengale, grandfather of St. Elmo Massengale, and the ancestor of Bishop Warren A. Chandler, Judge John C. Chandler, and A.S.G. Chandler. But if you'd like to follow me, this is the old Georgia, the Methodist Church here in Wrightsboro community. As you can see, we see another Confederate soldier buried right there in a single grave with a wrought iron fence around it. This is the Wrightsboro Community Church, where the early Methodists, you'd have two sides, two doors. Usually men would go on one side and women go on one side, and men sit on one side of the church. Women sit on the right-hand side of the church and everything, and it would tell you a little bit. Here we got an automated speaker. Now, I don't know if this works, but it says, mash your button, it tells you a little bit of information. It says the land migration of the settlers, William Bartram's travels through Wrightsboro. It says the Creek Indians and the frontier life, Wrightsboro after the Great Exodus. Well, let's just see what it says about the Creek Indians.
Did you realize that Georgia, founded in 1733, was the youngest of the original 13 British colonies? In its infancy, the colony was also the least populated, and mostly frontier. Today, Georgia has 159 counties, so it's really difficult to imagine that in colonial times, there were no real designated land divisions, except districts and towns. Later, the colony was divided into 8 parishes. What is now McDuffie County bordered on the St. Paul's Parish and the Creek Territory. The Creek traded with the early pioneers. Trappers and traders crisscrossed the landscape between Augusta and Macon, carrying their wares such as metal cooking pots, knives, and cloths. These items were popular with not only the Creeks, but also the few farmers living in the area. In 1768, George Galpin, a trader from Ireland, owned much of the land on which you are now standing. Possibly to establish a buffer between the Creek Indians to the north and Irish and Scottish settlers to the south, Colonial Governor James Wright requested that Galpin grant a 12,000-acre parcel of land to Joseph Maddock and a group of Quakers settling in the area. They founded Wrightsboro. The town included house lots, stores, blacksmith shop, and other businesses vital to frontier life. To hear more about the meeting house, please listen to Stop 1. The Quakers brought a spirit of hard work to the area, and although slavery had been disavowed in Philadelphia, the ban did not extend to other Friends, so many brought African slaves to work here. Though slavery was not officially sanctioned in Georgia, a blind eye was generally turned towards slaveholders in an effort to increase the agricultural success of the colony. Later in 1776, the North Carolina Yearly Meeting mandated the freeing of all slaves held by Friends. Any slaveholding Quaker would be subject to disownment. The rise of Thompson as a railroad town, the general acceptance of slavery in Georgia, and the resentment harbored against the Quakers for not fighting in the Revolution caused many Quaker families to relocate to the north and west.
This was a bit of a voice audio giving some bit history about how peaceful the Quakers originally were in this town and how they got ran up. With her saying about the perspective, that's just one perspective of how these peaceful people were ran out of this town. Many believe that they were persecuted because of their pacifism and also their anti-Trinitarian status when it comes to the doctrine of the Godhead. Follow me. This is the original location of where their Quaker meeting house was, right here, where this place was. And up these steps, we have a marker that basically gives us identification. It says in 1799, Wrightsboro Friends Meeting House. It was a house of worship for all denominations, but mainly the Quakers or the Friends Society met here. 1810, it says the Wrightsboro Church was constructed. In 1837, the Methodist Episcopal Church South was here. 1839, the Methodist Church was here. And it says 1966, it became property to the McDuffie County Commission. In 1967, the Wrightsboro Foundation Incorporated sponsors homecoming. And this was all family members of the original settlers here in this part of Georgia. Now down here, we have another Georgia state marker here. And as we approach it, you can still see a lot of the Confederate flags of the soldiers that were buried out here after they died in different battles during the Civil War. So this state marker says right here, is on this side in 1754, Edmund Gray, a pretending Quaker, who was not a true Quaker, founded the town of Brandon, named for one of the leaders. In December 1768, Joseph Maddock and Jonathan Quakers obtained a grant of 40,000 acres from the royal governor, Sir James Wright, revived the town and renamed it Wrightsboro in his honor. By 1775, over 60 families had settled in this town and 200 in the township. All Quaker. During the Revolutionary War, the fort was here. Fort Wrightsboro was commanded by Captain Thomas Wright. John Lewis Porter edited the newspaper, The Village Reef, and Sherwood Roberts kept the inn. Just like I said, coming in this town, this was a large village, and a lot of the stuff that still stays, this remnant of the towns, is still here. This is still people that live in this community here, and that's built around here in this area, that some of them are still descendants from the original Quakers that lived here. Now, if you'd like to walk with me, there's another part of the old town right over here that was redone by the state of Georgia, there's an old store and there's another old house that was part of the community out here, and they redone back in the early 70s. And the part of it today is that even though we have the society, you have people that come out here that want to party, young folks, that do not appreciate the historical significance, the history of this part of Georgia. And as a survivalist myself and a prepper, this kind of stuff right here means something to me, of the original people that fought here in this land to make something out of this land. And then all of a sudden just have generations after generations turn their back on their forefathers that originally built such frontier towns as Wrightsboro, Georgia. We're going to try to walk across the road here without trying to get hit. One of the nearest lights. And the chicken crossing the road. We're going to take a shortcut up here instead of going down to that driveway. And we got a few markers over here that gives us a little bit more brief history about these buildings that sit here. Right across over there is a well and one of the original houses here in Wrightsboro, Georgia. And this is what originally a frontier house would have looked like back in the day when the people lived here in this outpost. Here's a marker on the education that states schools shall be erected in each county and be county supported, the 54th section of the Georgia State Constitution. Here, to give you a brief message, it says the Quakers thought the education of their children quite important and began the tradition of education at Wrightsboro. At first, they commissioned an inerrant man or woman as a tutor and held the schools in private homes, and most of the texts were of religious nature. After the Revolution, the Constitution of Georgia required that there be schools built in each county. 1,000 acres of land was set aside to support each free school. These schools provided only the most basic education, reading, writing, and arithmetic, spelling, and penmanship. Each county also had to have an academy, for which a grant of $5,000 was set aside. The academy's pupils had to pay tuition and board, as well as to provide their own firewood and candles. The subjects taught in the academies were such things as Greek language, French language, Latin, philosophy, and mathematics. The girls studied French, arithmetic, music, drawing, and deportment. Wrightsboro had its own school as early as 1799. In that year, the commissioners voted to sell 800 acres of the common land and applied the money toward a seminary for learning. In 1810, they sold more land to enlarge the school, and in 1826, a lottery was set to raise $2,000 for the benefit of the Wrightsboro Academy. In the late 1840s, the noted educator Columbus Richard became headmaster of the Boys' Academy at Wrightsboro. He was an excellent teacher, as well as a strict disciplinarian, and he made the academy into one of the best schools in Georgia. Two of his sisters, Miss Marvina and Miss Lizzie, ran the Girls' Academy. Famous Wrightsboro area educators included Moses Rydell, later president of the University of Georgia, and Billington Sanders, the president of now Mercer University in Macon, Georgia. Now, if you follow me down here, we have another plaque that gives us a basic description of what the early life of the Quakers was like and everything. And it gives you a brief breakdown about the people who attacked this town, the Indians that attacked this town, and then it shows a brief picture of what the woman's life was here, showing that her weaving on a wheel to make yarn in order to sew into fabric. Now follow me over here. We have another marker that gives us more description on the interior of the church of historical Wrightsboro, Georgia. Now this picture is what the church looks like but after the Quakers had their church here. This is more of the Methodist style than what the Quakers would look like inside a Quaker meeting house. Over here, we have a picture of one of the general stores that used to be here. This is a general store right here in Wrightsboro, Georgia. Let's see if we can get to see an inside of it. And look at these old walls and everything. Right over here, I'm standing at the old counter. Right over here, where they would sell stuff behind the counter. We have different things on the floor. Right over there, we have an old fireplace. It's probably hard to see here in this area. And right over here, we still have counters. And right over here, we have bins where they would sell different grains and potatoes and onions and different stuff where you could just pick up out of these bins of what you wanted. And you can tell this is an old structure by the way the wood is here. Those stepping stones that they use for steps. And this is one of the earlier buildings here. Only one that lasts, and surprisingly is all wood. And a lot of the old stone structures are not even left standing anymore. You take us up over here to this old house, old Quaker house. And we'll take a look and see if we can get inside and see what it looks like on the inside. And this will be the ending of this video here in the pioneer ghost town of Wrightsboro, Georgia. As you can see, like at the old rock house, it has these old shutter-type windows here that could be closed at nighttime. Let's see if we can get in here. No, it's shut. It looks like. Let's see. Yeah, the window's shut from the inside. Let's just take a walk around this old pioneer house and everything. And at some point, electricity has been brought to this old house out here. But you can see the old logs and the dirt and cement that's how they add to build the old log house like. And this older addition here. And here we have a back door. Let's see if we can be allowed access here to this whole house. And we can get in here. We're going through the back way here. And it's kind of dark. Let's see if we can put some light in here. Let's have a little light here on this side. And this would have been a back room, possibly. Might have been the area where they prepared food because you got old antique table here. And up front here, you can still see the old floor here. This old tongue and groove floor. And the front part of the house where we're at, the old fireplace right there, is kind of hard to see because there ain't really no windows to put no light in here. But this house right here is ever lit beast, ever bit. Almost 200 years old here in the town of Wrightsboro. Probably most of the original structures here in Wrightsboro are now long gone. Foundations probably are the only thing that's left. And they would be in the woods and everything. Well, at this time, this is the conclusion of this three-part mini-series here of the ghost town of Wrightsboro, Georgia. I hope you enjoyed these videos. And I enjoy making these videos for you. As I travel over Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida, and at different times making different videos about different things, please leave your comments and let me know what you think. Well, this is JRP, the Jewish Redneck Prepper. I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed and had fun, me and my family, making it for you. Please, if you like my videos, please subscribe to my channel, the Jewish Redneck Prepper, or join my Facebook page, Dumpster Divers for Prepping and Surviving. Well, until next time, my loved ones and my friends, shalom, enjoy the journey. Goodbye.